Good morning, everybody. I know I'm a little bit later than usual. A little bit more disorganized than usual this morning. Making myself a cup of coffee. Yes, I'm just getting around to that. It's 10:15 here. It is snowing like crazy up here, and in a couple minutes I'm going to sit down and I'm going to finish the cow that I started yesterday as soon as my coffee's done. Finish the cow that I started yesterday, so you can see how I do the second arm and legs for it. And also, I'm a little bit later because I spent the morning, making coffee. Yikes. Multitasking. Probably shouldn't be at my age. The pattern for the basic body that I use for the cows, I do now have up and live on my website. So if you click on my link tree and you click on my website, there is a menu option that says patterns. It's a small basic body. And it is the whole pattern. At the bottom of the pattern are all pictures for how I do things. I made it out of worsted weight yarn instead of the blanket yarn, so that it was a little bit easier to see some of the stitches and things that I did here. And as soon as, boy, thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. And as soon as I'm done here making my cup of coffee and stirring it, I'm going to sit down and pick up that cow and try to finish the body so you can see how I put the arms and the legs on it. And coffee's almost done. Give it a stir. Yeah, snowing. Really, really snowing. I don't know if I can flip the camera while I'm on my live or not. Let me see here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I really appreciate it. I guess I can't flip the camera. I'm not real sure how I do that. Yeah, I'll eventually figure it out. Coffee's done. Nice and hot. And wherever I put my lid, because if I know me, it'll be all over everything if I don't have a lid. All right, let's go sit down and pick up the cow. So let me connect my phone here. A little bit crooked. Have to plug it in. Yeah, so the cows that I was working on, I have to grab one. Let me plug my phone in here. And I'll grab a cow and I'll show you. Am I charging? No, of course not. Why should I be charging? Let's see. Sorry about the movement. I'm going to go grab one of those cows in a second. Now I'm charging. All right, let me go get a, yeah, true crime and crocheting. Perfect. It's exactly what I like to do. Let me grab a cow. So, these are the cows that I've been working on. And if any of you do stuffed animals and plushies, you know, you got a basic pattern and then you just like add the stuff to it. So, as I've been watching and people have been joining and so kind to support me, I decided on my webpage that I would just give the pattern for the basic body. Now, the basic body, the pattern that I use is the same, but I made them out of, this is the basic doll pattern that I use, and then I just like add the horns and the ears and the nose and tie a ribbon around them. But this is the basic body pattern. And again, if you go to if you click on my link tree and go to my website, at the top I now have the section for patterns where you can pull up that pattern and it's free. It's just on my website, and underneath the pattern is pictures for some of the steps, like doing the arms and legs, which I'm going to do now. So this is the one I started on yesterday with my live, and you see I have his head and one of his legs. This pattern is you don't have, the only thing you have to sew on is any accessories you want. The whole body and everything is just crocheted on. So you can see there's the one leg that I'm almost done with. That's where I'll put the second leg, and then here's where the arms will get crocheted right onto it. So I have to stuff this up and find my needle and stitch my leg together. Tilt this so you can actually see what I'm doing. And then I will show you how I join to do the second leg. And hopefully finish this one this morning because I have a bunch of sewing to do too. I do stuff for local craft fairs. I do one in the summer with my dad, who likes to paint and do watercolors and has stacks and stacks and tons. So my mother talked me into, and they live in a city, so where he is, if he wants to do a show, he has to frame all his art, like have it in the galleries. Up here they have a lake festival because I live on the lake, and he just brings his stacks of unfinished art up and he just sticks it on a table and people pay him for it. He makes a killing. He only sells the stuff for $10 or $20 a piece for an unframed piece, and still people just stand there for hours. I'm not kidding you, and flip through his stuff. When we first started doing this, we had one tent, and I figured one tent would hold both of us. Boy, was I wrong. I think between the two of us, we could both probably fill 2 tents each. So I'm just finishing up this. For those of you who watch me, I like to, when I weave in my ends, I'm not destroying my fingers. Yeah, I do use a pair of pliers to pull my needle through. I used to be a nurse, so like using something like that's like a needle holder to me. It was like second nature. And it doesn't kill your hands, but if you know me, I like my glue. And I use, just on some of my ends, I still weave them in, I still knot them very tightly. Oh, that fur baby. He's a chocolate lab. And on one of my other lives, somebody had commented, I think he needs some anxiety medication. Yeah, I think he needs some anxiety medication. Right now, I think he wants out. I'm going to go let him out real quick, and then as soon as I come back, I'll show you how I attach the yarn for the other leg, and then show you how I attach the yarn for the arms and do the arms. 1 second. And look at my cat. Charlie's his name. Charlie. You have to go outside? Go. I'm sure he won't be long because it's snowing up here. So he won't be too happy with that. Okay, so I'm just going to make my slip knot, and to join the other leg, I'm going to start in the front, and there are, I end up with 16 stitches around the body. As you can see, the body is only a couple of rows. 16 stitches around the body. The first 8 I used for the first leg, the second 8 I used for the second leg. So I'm going to attach it here in the front. And I'm just going to attach it with a single crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet my 8 around. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll show you when I do the last stitch of the round. Sometimes you can do one of two things. You're always going to end up with a space here. So you can either leave a tail to kind of knot that space off, and to kind of help that space close a little, you can kind of do a decrease here for your last stitch. So it's still only my 8th stitch, but I'm picking up a stitch in the center, and I'm going to pull through both of those loops to make my last stitch, to kind of make that gap that ends up in the center a little bit smaller. So I have 8 stitches there, and my pattern. I'm going to do 8 more stitches around. Starting with a single crochet, sometimes it's hard to get into that first knot. 1, and then I'm going to work on the toe. I'll show you the toe. Blanket yarn is not my favorite because I like to see my stitches. To mark them here. My fur baby, somebody had to ask a little bit earlier, is a chocolate lab. Somebody dumped him on the side of the road. Somebody picked him up. And at the time we had a couple of elderly neighbors across the street, and the person that had picked him up was a friend of one of the elderly neighbors, and he was a puppy. And they came over and said, "Hey, do you want a dog?" So I already had dogs at the time, but you know, my husband was like, "Oh, I always wanted a chocolate lab." So yeah, I agree. I love how it feels when it's finished, but it's horrible to work with. So we got him, and then everybody wanted to know what to name him, and I said, well, he's chocolate. So I dubbed him, being the Gen Xer I am, Sir Charles, in charge of the chocolate factory. So it's my Charlie. Okay, so now that I have my 8 stitches around again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, I am going to work for the toe. So for the toe, I'm going to work 1 stitch, and that 1 stitch kind of brings me to the front 3 stitches. Like I said, they're hard to see. The front 3 stitches where the toe would be, and each one of those stitches I'm going to increase. And again, this pattern is I did put it on my website. I do have pictures with it. It is free. I don't have ads on my website. It's not like a blog that you're going to get inundated with pop-ups and clicks and whatever. It's just a simple website, and under the pattern section, when you pull it up for the basic body pattern, it is just the pattern. I did not try to print it up to see what it looked like printed, but it is all the words and in the specific steps is which photo to refer to, and all the photos are at the bottom. So if you want just the written pattern, if you want to refer to the photos, that is free on my website. So finish this round. 6, 7, 8. And if you give me a second, I'll show you how I finish off the toe and finish off the foot. Because again, they're really simple. They're really quick to make. There's only a couple rounds on each body part, but let me let Sir Charles in and I'll be right back. Go in. Alright, sorry about that. But here he is if you want to see him. Charlie. Charlie. That's my Sir Charles in charge of the chocolate factory. Alright. And yeah, he will stand here and huff at me the entire time I sit here. Okay, so since we increased those 3 stitches instead of 8, we now have 11. So now I'm going to once more, I'm going to start my round with maybe 2 stitches this time. And it should all work out. But use your judgment too and look to see to make sure things look even. Because now when you pull it, you still kind of want to get the 3 stitches in front. So I think I want to make a couple more stitches before I do my increases again, because once again you're going to increase at the 3 stitches in front. So then instead of 11 stitches, you started with 8, you increase by 3, 11, you increase again at the toe by 3, 14. So this is, I should be counting. It's my first increase. Oh, there's my stitch. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And so now you have your 2 rows of increases that brought out your toe. And to finish that off for that, I'm just going to decrease around, which will give me my 7 stitches, and then pull it closed. That's 4. It's 5. Getting to the end of my yarn here. 6. And usually when I'm decreasing around and I'm going to sew something together, when I do the last decrease, so this would be number 7 and I would be done, instead of actually doing a single crochet, I'll just pull it through the slip stitch and then cut and pull this through. I won't bore you with the stuffing. I will go right into working on the arms. So but this will get stuffed. It'll look the same. So, but to add to the arms, for any of you that are watching that want to go try out my pattern, I don't really give them a neck because I usually tie the ribbons around it, and I don't like my necks floppy, so I usually just leave my necks fairly comparable to the size of the head. I just bring them down just enough to how big I want the body, because that way they won't flop around. And I usually tie a ribbon around them anyway. Like with the cows. With the cows, I have the ribbons around their neck because if you look, I don't know if I have it posted. Oh, I do have it posted on one of my TikToks. I did a commission for my daughter's, one of my daughter's friends wanted a bag that was shaped like a cow. So I thought, well, what's a cow without a bell? So I went online to find bells, and this was the only way I could find a bell that would fit. So now I have a bag of bells. So I figured, well, I'll sit and make cows for my summer market. Okay, on to this mess of the last of my yarn I have. So when you're going to work the arms, you are going to start like you're, so I'm going to do the first stitch here for this side, and I'm going to work my 6 around, and then when I do this side again, I'm going to have to flip it over and again start kind of, so I'll just show you. So I'm going to start with 6. Let's see if I can turn around a little bit here. So that's 1, and I think there's only 4 rounds to the arms too. 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've just done 6 stitches around one armhole, and I'm going to, I want them a little bit shorter. So this, the second round is actually going to be my increases, and because I don't need like a toe, I'm just going to increase evenly around to make just like a little ball. So where you've got a toe, you just kind of have a ball for the hand. So I'm going to increase every other stitch and bring this up to 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It can get a little bit fussy sometimes trying to work with everything together, but I hate having to sew pieces on, so I'd much rather do this. So after I do my 9, I'm going to increase one more time. So I'm going to single crochet 2, and then increase, and by the end of the round I will have 12. 10, 11, 12. Next round is just going to be even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the next round I'm just gonna, so there's his legs and his arms so far. Next round I'm just gonna decrease around back to 6 and stuff them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again on this last decrease, instead of actually doing a full single crochet on the last decrease, I'm just going to bring it through as a slip stitch. And you have an arm. So again, it's the same pattern as this one, but this one's made out of worsted weight. This one's made out of the blanket yarn. I did post the pattern for the basic piece. I did not get yet, and I will put up the pattern for like just how I made the nose and the ears and the horns, but that's probably not going to be until tonight or tomorrow night. But I do have the basic pattern up there with some pictures if you guys wanted it. You can click on my link tree, go to my website, and the pattern is free. My website isn't cluttered with ads and things like that. It's just basically links to my shop, and I do have a gallery of stuff that I've made in the past if you want to look at some stuff that I made in the past. But I will stuff this arm, and I will stuff this leg. And then I have one more arm to do. The last arm there. It's always so cute. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. Now, the holes tend to be a little bit small to stuff into, but you can still manage to get them in there. If you can't get them in there with your finger, you can always shove them in with the end of a larger crochet hook or a larger knitting needle. But I make sure I have my legs and my arms stuffed pretty well. And then when I do the second arm, before I do the second arm, I'll use this hole to push any more stuffing that I want up into the bottom. And then I'll finish off the second arm. But right now I'm going to finish off my legs, because he is going to be another cow. I think I put too much stuffing in that one. Way too much stuffing in that one. And yeah, another cow. I don't have the accessory patterns yet on my website, but I do have the basic doll pattern in pictures. It is free. It's just on my website. If you want to print the page, print the page. If you go to my just regular website, not my shop site. My shop site's a Square site. I have some stuff on Etsy, but not a lot of stuff on Etsy because Etsy takes a huge fee. I think the downside, though, is that people are familiar with Etsy, so they're more likely to buy from Etsy. Whereas my own shop site is kind of like they think they're taking a chance. Like, you order something and you don't get it for like 4 weeks. My shipping times, if I get an order, it's gone that day. more times than not. If it's later, it's usually gone in the morning. I just package it up and send it with my husband when he goes to work, because I don't want to sit and look at orders and have people inundating my emails with, where's my order? I want you to get it. I want you to enjoy it. The majority of what I make, again with the glue, I know, but I just put that little bit in there before I pull the rest of the loop down and secure it. And then you can't tell, but it secures the ends in. And then where I showed you where you're always going to end up with sort of like a hole here at the bottom, I leave my tails out so that I can then take my tails and just pick up a loop with one tail, and it pulls that hole closed, and then I just tie my two tails together and then just shove them back up into the body. If you are going to use glue to secure your knots or your tails, because everything's knotted, I would suggest you wait until you've pulled your needle through, because I've already forgotten about it and put my little dab of glue there and had to pull my needle through the glue and clean my needle, and it's all sticky and gross. Let me just shove the rest of these ends in, and then I'm going to finish up the other hand, stuff the other hand. Any little bits that are still sticking out, I usually just take them and work them back in. So you can't see them. I know I'm not the only one that does that. Does everybody else hold their tools in their mouth too? Okay. Now I have a mouth full of fuzz. So I have both of my legs stitched up there, and I'm going to trim this one because it's a little bit long. And I don't feel like sitting there taking the time to shove it all back in there. So now I have both legs done, and you see how the increases just at the front make the little toes, so he looks like he has feet. And whereas if you just do your increases even, it makes like a ball, like a fist, like a hand, more like a hand. And he's going to look like this when he's done. I did manage to sit this morning and get the pattern for the basic one that I use, because I usually just freehand everything I sit until it looks right, and take notes. This is usually what my patterns look like, scribbles. But I did sit and take the time to make one yesterday out of worsted weight yarn. I have the whole pattern listed on my website, and there's pictures with it. My website is not full of ads or anything like that. It's just a simple, basic About Me webpage with a gallery where you can see some of the other things that I did, a contact page. So you're not going to get a lot of pop-ups or ads. You're just simply going to get a page with a pattern. You can either read it from there or print it off. I'm not sure how it would look printed up because I did not try to print it, but from like tablet view and phone view and computer view, it all looked pretty good. It was pretty readable. I hope it's concise. enough. I had somebody complain that I had too many pictures on one of my patterns. And again, it's free. The link to my website is on my link tree. You would just click on the one that was website and not shop site, because there are two different things. Although I do have links to my shop all over my website, but most of you that are here aren't here to shop. Most of you here are here to get a pattern, crochet, learn some tips and tricks. And again, because you're always kind of going to get like that little hole, like there's like a little gap there from where you joined, I'm going to push this was my beginning end when I joined my yarn, and I'm going to push my finishing end through that same kind of gap there. Yeah, I know. Again with the glue. You know, if somebody buys it for a toy and it ends up in the washing machine with a load of towels, I want it to come out and I want them to say, hey, look, this still looks good. So then I'm just going to take, where I have both of these coming out, I'm just going to take and, oops, so what I'm going to do, take one of the ends up and through, and then I can tie both of my ends together, and it pulls that little gap shut underneath the arms. And then I'm going to weave in these ends. And when I do the second one, of course I'm going to grab my bottle of glue again. It's really windy. I don't know if anybody else from up north, northeast, near the Great Lakes. It's chilly. Who am I kidding? It's cold. It is just downright cold. Today it's windy and snowing. I can't believe they didn't have a snow day today, but one left. She's a senior out of 5. So, coming along. So now when I do the second arm, before I do the second arm, I am going to stuff my head a little bit firmer. So, since I only have one hole left there, I will just keep shoving little bits in there until I get my head the way I want it. Make sure he's stuffed the way I want, and then I'll do my second arm and finish him up. Because once I do my second arm, it's kind of hard to push through those rounds of 6 stitches. So I make sure I get my last little bit of stuffing in there before I do the second arm. Stuff my body a little bit more. What's up, Charlie? A little bit more. So I kind of have them stuffed the way I want them, shaped the way I want them. And now I'm going to attach my yarn and do my second arm and finish him off. And then work on some of my sewing. I have things that I made for my vendor events this summer. I did some sewing as well as crocheting, and I did little pyramid pouches. They're right here. Grab one. So this is some of the sewn items I'll take to my vendor events. It's a pyramid pouch. With a clip. My daughter has them hanging all over her backpack. I think I lose more things than I make sometimes. And then these are like so cool. I saw these on TikTok and I had to make them. So it's a marble maze. There is a marble in here that you can push around. I guess it's like one of those like little fidget sensory things, but there is a marble in there. I don't know how well you can see it, that you can push around. And of course I made mine so that you can fold it in half, since between my daughter and my niece, you know, it's got to be able to clip on something. So I did make it so they fold in half and snap. And there is a clip on it. Those were my marble mazes. So I made a bunch of those to take. I don't do too many sewing projects for vendor events. I do mostly crochet stuff, but I do want to give credit where credit is due. This is the lady that I got the marble maze from. So it's at Lilatulip, and she does have a TikTok there that has her marble mazes. And I do want to give her some credit because, boy, that was a fantastic idea. I saw that and thought, I have to do those. So that's another one of those things that I have that I'll take with me for vendor events. If I can find some. The last person I called, when I called them up, they said to me, I might be challenged, I can't find the little person pattern. If you go to my profile, I have a link tree. If you click on the link tree, it should say on their website, maybe, niftyknots.com. If you click on that, it should take you to my website. And at the very top, if you're on the computer, you have the words across the top for the different pages. If you're on your mobile phone, you'll see the three little lines up on the side there. If that's the menu, if you tap on that menu and it comes down, it'll say patterns, and there's only one there so far. That's how you would get to the pattern. Did you find it? You have to go to my website, not my shop. So if you went to the Square site, you won't find it. But if you just went to the Nifty Knots site, it's Nifty Knots, NIFTYKNOTZ.com. If you Google that, you should be able to pull up just my regular website. It should have pulled up. I'll have to check on that later. Do me a favor, and because I can't read who you are, it like went away for some reason. The person that couldn't find the pattern, just send me a direct message that just simply says pattern, and I'll send you a link so that it'll take you directly to it. Because again, it's free. It's just a basic amigurumi doll. I know a lot of people will charge for things like this, but when you make amigurumi and you make dolls, the majority of them are basically the same thing. If you can crochet in a circle, you can crochet in a circle. It's just pretty much tailored to how you like the shape of it. And you can, this one looks like he's a little bit twisted, like you can add a couple of stitches before you start the armholes to make the armholes more centered. You can add a couple of stitches or less stitches before you make the toe increases. When you make enough of them, you learn how to just kind of not improvise, but learn the shaping, because when you tend to, none of these rounds are joined. These rounds are all just worked in a spiral, and when you work in a spiral, you'll notice your first stitch will always kind of shift a little to the right. if that makes sense. If you do a couple of spirals without joining, you'll see what I mean. It just kind of shifts just a little bit. So it's not, so sometimes you just kind of have to play with them. But the basic pattern there, I did allow for those shifts. So it should come out the way it's supposed to. So to do the second, again, the person who couldn't find the pattern, just anybody who can't find the pattern, if you go to my link tree and just go to my website, not my shop site, in the menu it should say patterns, and it's basic amigurumi body or basic small animal body, I think I put in there, and that's the only pattern I have up there. If you can't find it, you want to find it, just send me a DM that just simply says pattern, and I will send you back a link directly to that page with the pattern. So, second arm, I'm going to turn them around this way this time because I'm going to insert my hook here, and I'm going to start with my 6 stitches. Again, I'm going to leave my tail out so that I can tie off my little gap that's there. And finish around. Four, 5, 6. Can you guys actually hear me? I usually wear my Bluetooth, and I totally forgot about it this morning. I hope you guys can hear me. That was because I spent most of the morning, oh, thank you very much. Most of the morning trying to get my website updated. I'm so bad. I haven't done anything with it. But I could put a little bio on there. So if you go to my web page, not my shop site, my website, there's a short little bio on there about me. Not too much, just enough. So it's 6 stitches around the arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next round will increase. There's only 4 or 5 rounds to the arm. 1. I'm going to increase to 9, so every other. 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the next round I'm going to increase to 12, so it'll be 2 and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, like I can count, right? 1, I just said 2 and then an increase, and I just kept doing the increases. So 1, 2, an increase, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12, and I'm going to go around one more time, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I'm going to decrease around to give me, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff him a little bit first. Just put, sorry, I keep smacking my phone here. Put a little bit of stuffing in his arm first, so I don't stretch him out too much. A little bit of stuffing in his hand. If I want to put more stuffing in his hand, I can manage to squish it in there. And then I'm going to decrease around. One, two, three, and what I'm doing is an invisible decrease. So I pick up the first loop, I pick up the first loop of the next stitch, so there's 2 stitches, and I bring them both through there and finish 4. I'll show you one more time. So you go into the front loop of the first stitch that you're decreasing, you go into the front loop of the second stitch that you're going to use for that decrease, and you pull through both of those at the same time, then complete your single crochet. And that's how I do my invisible decreases. And then for the last one, instead of doing a full single crochet, I'll just pull it through like a slip stitch. And that's it for that arm. So I'm going to make sure he's stuffed the way I want him. I think that hand could use just a little bit more stuffing. Not too much. You see, I don't have much to... Make sure he looks pretty even. And then I'll stitch up this side. And then the doll part will be done. And I do knot, but to knot, I just usually just do a few loops through. You could actually, it's sort of like a chain 2 that you just kind of pull your loop through. So I would pull up one loop there, I put my tail through and pull that first loop tight, and then I put my tail through and pull the whole thing tight. And again, I like my glue. So this time I'm going to do the same thing with the other arm. See how you always have that little gap there when you add it? So I'm going to push this tail right down through that gap. I'm going to secure my knot with a little bit of permanent fabric glue. Pull my ends in, and then to close that gap there, that I'm going to have under my arms. I'm just going to take my needle and put it up through a loop. And then I'm going to use this tail and my beginning tail. You can see how it already kind of closed. And I'm just going to tie a knot there and then pull my ends in. You can see how that closes that gap. Again, if you want the pattern, I did post the pattern to my website, not my shop site, my website. So if you go to my link tree, there should be, I'll double check it when I'm done here. If you go to my link tree, it should say website and one should say shop. If you go to the website and you pull down the menu, if you're on a computer, you should see the little menu options at the top right. If you are, thank you very much. If you are on a mobile device or a tablet, usually on the left-hand corner you'll see 3 little lines. And if you tap those 3 little lines, that gives you the menu option and you can see where it says pattern. And my website is simple, as is my shop site. I don't have ads on it. I really don't. I mean, I have an about page. I have a gallery of previous stuff that I've done that's either sold out or I took to previous shows and just didn't make any more of, or things I've made to gifts and gave away. Also on my webpage I have a shout out page because I do have a couple of designers that I really liked. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you for all the likes. I do have a shout out page on my website because there are some designers that I really, really like. So if I don't feel like sitting down and thinking about what I want to do or designing something that day, I have a couple of go-tos, like especially for my lacy shawls. For my lacy shawls, I have one designer in particular that I really liked, and she is on my shout out page there. And with a link to her Etsy or Ravelry shop maybe. So, and that is the finished just basic body. And then again, hopefully sometime within the next 2 days I'll get my little accessories, patterns, explanations, like for the ears. For the ears, I did not make, like some people, if you have bigger patterns, you can actually do it in the round, but I just made these like little leaves. So if you look, it's just one single piece. It's just like a little leaf that I just put on and folded in half. The horns I did do in the round. This I sort of did in the round. And I love that bell. Love that bell. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's my energy for the morning. Spending my time updating my website and getting the pattern done, and I'll work on the pattern for the rest of the pieces, and I'll include that somewhere there as well. But that's basically what he looks like in blanket yarn, and that's what he looks like in just regular worsted weight yarn. I actually used the same time. So it's like a gingerbread. Yeah. You know what? I thought the same thing when I made the first one. I'm like, oh, it looks like a gingerbread man. Huh. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Just put some little rick-rack on him and he would be a cute gingerbread man. But yeah, he starts out looking like a gingerbread man. And I will take like, so if you can see it, I put a nose on this one. I'll put like big floppy ears on this one and make it a bunny. You could, put little circles on it, make it raccoon. You can, most amigurumi starts with a basic doll. And this is a small one. It is a small one. Oh, I would go live together with you, but I am actually about to get off. I do appreciate the invite. But again, his pattern is free on my website. If you go to my bio in TikTok and click on the link tree, and I'll double check. One should say website, one should say shop. So I'll make sure it says website. And if you're on a computer, because somebody was having a hard time finding it, if you're on the computer, up on the right hand side are the like tabs, the about, home, patterns, gallery. Or if you're on your phone, up on the left hand side there are usually 3 little lines, and if you tap on that, it drops down and you'll get the menu that way. I think tablets are probably about the same way. But yes, my basic doll, my pattern is on my website. Eventually I'll get the pieces to make my basic doll into a cute little cow so that you guys can make a cute little cow. And I just use safety eyes. Although I will say, for the safety eyes, I know I showed you guys yesterday. I think that's what I dropped. For the safety eyes yesterday, I showed you that I actually, with the blanket yarn, will put a piece of Pellon on the inside of my fabric. So if you have your fabric, I put the Pellon on the back of my fabric, poke my pieces through and through the Pellon, and then I burn off my ends there. That way you don't see the white part because it's inside. The only thing you see are the eyes. And then I glue this Pellon around so that you really can't push the eyes in or out. And I especially do that with the noses because the nose pieces are small. And that way, like, you're not going to be able to push that nose or those eyes in, and you're not going to be able to pull that out either. But just little, yeah, you can turn them into pretty much whatever you want to turn them into. So I think that's what I'm going to work on this month, is as I'm like doing things for my vendor events, I'll put like accessory patterns up there so that you can get like the pieces to the cow if you want to make a cow, or pieces to the bunny if you want to make a bunny, or make a dog out of it. But yeah, I think I'm going to do that too with my website. But go check it out if you want the pattern. If you can't find the pattern, just DM me and let me know. In the meantime, I'm going to drink that coffee that I made now, probably at least 45 minutes ago. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the gifts. I really, truly appreciate it. Really, really do. Thank you. And tomorrow, I'm usually on weekdays in between 9 and 10 o'clock. Thanks.